My parents let my sister ruin my credit. At 19, so I rebuilt in silence, then bought the house. They wanted and refused their offer. I've always been the scapegoat of my family. The one who got blamed for stuff I didn't do, the one who got overlooked when I did everything right. I'm 19 now, but honestly, it's been like this since I was old enough to understand what being invisible felt like. My mum's the kind of woman who has to control everything. What we wore, what we said, how we smiled in family photos. She's all charm in public, but at home, if you cross her, even by accident, she'd ice you out like you never existed. My dad, he's just there. A warm body on the couch who shrinks into the background any time Mom raises her voice, which was often. Then there's my sister, Katie. She's 23 now and somehow still the center of every conversation. Every family event revolved around her schedule. Every birthday, hers was a spectacle. Mine, a cake from the discount freezer and a last-minute card. When she flunked out of college twice, they told her to take time to find herself. When I got a B in math, my mum said I was wasting my potential and grounded me for laziness. Katie could borrow money and never pay it back, break things and blame it on stress. Once, she dented my laptop and laughed it off. I got yelled at for not keeping my stuff safe. When she crashed Dad's car after drinking at a party, they told me, don't make a big deal. She's going through a hard time. When I forgot to take the trash out, it was a pattern of disrespect. I learned early that being quiet didn't earn you peace. It made you an easy target. So I started staying in my room more. I stopped talking unless I had to. They called it moody or too sensitive, but honestly, it was the only way I could protect myself from them, and I had no idea just how deep that favoritism would cut. This happened a month after I turned 19. I had just gotten my first steady job. Nothing glamorous, just cashiering at an electronics store. I figured it was time to start building credit, so I applied for a simple starter credit card. I remember how excited I was clicking submit. It felt like I was finally doing something for me. A week later, I got the letter, denied. At first, I thought it was a mistake. I had no debts, no loans, no missed payments. Hell, I'd never even owned a credit card. But then I pulled my credit report, and that's when my stomach dropped. 3 credit cards, all maxed out. A defaulted car loan. Past due electric and cable bills from an address I didn't recognize. My name, my social security number, my credit score? Ruined? I remember staring at the report like it was written in another language. I felt like I was reading someone else's life, someone reckless and buried in debt. But it was mine, my identity, my future. The second I got home, I confronted my parents. I was shaking. I threw the report on the kitchen table. My mom didn't even flinch. Oh, she said, not even looking up from her phone. Your sister was going through a tough time? We didn't want to upset her more. What? I asked. My voice cracked. You knew? Dad didn't say a word. Just kept sipping his coffee like we were talking about the weather. She needed help, Mom continued, and you weren't even using your credit. She said she'd pay it off. I was speechless. My own family let this happen. Chose to let it happen. To me, I wasn't a person to them. I was a tool. A safety net. A name they could sign away. And in that moment, something inside me cracked wide open. I begged them. After the shock wore off, I sat both my parents down and pleaded, really pleaded, with them to help me fix this. I asked them to talk to Katie, to make her take responsibility, to file a police report so I could at least prove the identity theft wasn't my fault. I even printed out the paperwork. I was shaking while handing it to them. My dad didn't even look at it. Just said, family doesn't call the cops on family. And my mom, she looked annoyed. Do you know how much stress your sister's been under? She didn't mean to ruin anything. You're blowing this way out of proportion. Katie walked in mid-conversation, chewing on a bag of chips. She glanced at the papers, rolled her eyes, and said, Relax. You weren't even using your credit. It's not like I took real money. Real money. That's what they thought my life was worth. An abstract number. A temporary inconvenience. I told them I was trying to rent my first apartment, that I wanted to lease a used car so I wouldn't have to bus across town for work. But every time I brought it up, my mom would sigh and say, "Just stay here a while longer. It's cheaper. You're not ready to live on your own." Not ready. What they really meant was, don't rock the boat. I started sinking. Fast. I stopped eating right. Stopped sleeping. Got rejected from a job I really wanted because of the defaulted car loan showing up on my background check. I didn't even try to explain. It sounded like a lie coming out of my own mouth. Every time I looked at my reflection, I felt hollow, powerless. It finally hit me. No one was coming to fix this, not my parents, not Katie. I was completely alone. At some point, I just stopped talking. No more yelling. No more begging. No more crying in the dark, wondering why they didn't care. I realized that every time I tried to make them see the damage they'd done, I was handing them pieces of me, and they never gave any back. So I shut down. Moved like a ghost through the house. Ate in silence. Answered questions with one-word grunts. It drove my mum crazy, but she couldn't accuse me of anything because I wasn't doing anything wrong. Then one day, I packed a duffel bag, texted an old friend, and moved into his apartment. It was a shoebox, just a couch and a mattress on the floor, but it was mine. No one asked to borrow money. No one stole from me while calling it love. I worked 2 jobs, early mornings unloading trucks, late nights bussing tables. I barely slept, but in between shifts I started researching. Found a whole world of credit repair videos on YouTube. People who'd crawled out of worse. People who taught me how to fight back without making a sound. I opened a secured credit card with my first $200. I set reminders to pay it down early. I filed disputes, all of them. It took weeks, but one by one, the fraudulent account started to fall off my record. Every letter from the credit bureau felt like a battle won in a war, only I knew I was fighting. I blocked my family on everything, Facebook, Instagram, even email. They didn't ask where I went. They didn't notice I was gone. And somehow, that hurt more than anything else. But it also freed me because silence became my sharpest weapon. By the time I turned 22, I had a different kind of silence. Not the numb, bitter kind that used to sit in my chest like a stone, but the kind that comes from peace. Quiet, earned peace. I never went back. In the 3 years since I left, I worked like hell. Got certified in IT support using free courses online. Landed a stable help desk job with decent benefits. Opened a Roth IRA, started budgeting. Drove a 10-year-old Corolla I bought in cash. No debt, no loans, just forward motion. I checked my credit score every month like it was a scoreboard. Slowly, patiently, I watched it climb. 520, IA, 620. Until one day, I hit 704. I just sat there and stared at the screen. No one celebrated with me. But honestly, that made it sweeter. My sister, Katie, was still living at home the last I heard, posting cringy Instagram stories about her latest wellness side hustle, selling shakes, crystals, whatever was trendy that week. Every 3 months, she'd start a new MLM and drag half the family into it, except me, of course. I was the ungrateful one who walked away. My dad's hours got cut at his warehouse job. My mum's health was declining, some chronic condition she kept posting vague updates about on Facebook. They'd started fundraising for medical bills. Old cousins tried tagging me in family support threads. I blocked them all, not because I didn't care, but because no one cared when I was sinking. They hadn't reached out in years. Not a text, not a call. Not even a happy birthday. They had no idea who I'd become. No idea that the quiet, sensitive boy they used as a financial doormat now had his life together. And the best part, I planned to keep it that way. It happened during a random phone call with my cousin Rachel. We were catching up. She was one of the few family members I hadn't cut off completely, mostly because she never took sides and always kept it real. Somewhere between talking about work and rent prices, she casually mentioned something that made me freeze. "Your mom still talks about that white colonial house on Brookstone Drive. You know, the one with the wraparound porch? She and your dad tried to get it years ago, but their credit was trash."
It's like her dream retirement spot. I didn't say anything, but something clicked. I remembered that house.
A two-story colonial with deep blue shutters and a weeping willow out front. We'd driven past it dozens of times growing up. Mom used to sigh dramatically and say, "If only we had a little more money." That night, I pulled up a photo of it online. It was still for sale. The price was steep, but not impossible.
Not if I focused.
Not if I really committed. So I printed it, just a simple 4x photo.
And I taped it behind my bathroom mirror.
Every morning when I brushed my teeth, I'd tilt the glass just enough to see that house staring back at me. Not as a dream, but as a target. I tightened my budget.
No vacations.
No upgrades. I picked up freelance gigs after work, cleaned laptops, installed routers, anything that paid.
I even sold some old electronics I didn't use anymore. That house wasn't just a home.
It was the finish line to a life they told me I'd never reach. The same one they thought I'd never deserve, and if I ever stepped through that door, it wouldn't be with their blessing, it would be on my terms. At 25, I bought the house. A promotion had come through earlier that year. IT manager at a mid-size firm. Decent pay, good benefits, and more than enough to finally qualify.
I made the down payment in one clean sweep and closed within 6 weeks.
No co-signers, no favors. Just me. The same house they'd always dreamed about. I owned it now. And here's the twist. It was just a few streets away from my parents' house. They had no idea.
I moved in quiet. No parties. No social media flex.
I wanted to feel it before anyone knew. I remember walking through the empty rooms that first night. Bare walls, creaky floorboards, moonlight pouring through those wide colonial windows.
It didn't feel real. I sat on the staircase and just breathed.
For the first time in years, I felt like I'd won something no one could take. And then 4 years of silence ended with a phone call. It was my mom. Her voice was chipper, like nothing had ever happened. "We're finally thinking of buying our dream home," she said. "We're touring it this Saturday. Want to come?"
I almost dropped the phone. I knew exactly what house she meant. "Sure," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Text me the time." That Saturday, I opened the front door myself. I watched them walk in like they owned the place.
My mom beamed at the kitchen. My dad nodded, arms crossed, already critiquing the backsplash. Katie wandered upstairs, calling dibs on the biggest room in case she moved in. No one questioned why the agent never spoke. They had no idea this was my house, and I wasn't about to ruin the show, not yet.
'Cause watching them plan their fantasy in my reality,
that was a moment I wanted to savor. They loved it.
all over again, my mom walked through the halls like she was touching holy ground. "It's even better than I remembered," she whispered, running her fingers along the banister.
My dad peeked into the garage, already talking about what we could do with this space. Katie flopped onto the living room couch like she owned it.
"This one's gonna be my room," she called out, laughing.
Dibs. I stood near the kitchen island, saying nothing. Then the realtor, who I'd briefed earlier, walked in, holding a slim folder. She smiled politely and walked past my parents and handed the papers to B. My mom blinked. "Oh, honey, are you signing for the showing?" The agent said it without hesitation. "No, he's the buyer. We just closed last week." Silence. My mum looked like someone had punched the air out of her lungs. Her jaw trembled, but no sound came out. My dad's face flushed.
"You bought this?" he asked, blinking fast. "Yeah," I said quietly, nodding. "Last week," Katie shot up from the couch.
"Wait, you?"
"Are you serious?"
She looked around like the walls had betrayed her. Then she scoffed and walked straight out the door. My mum finally spoke.
"Or tried to."
Her voice cracked.
"But how?" I didn't answer. I didn't owe them one. My dad muttered something about it being a bad financial move and shook his head like he was disappointed in me. And I just stood there, not smug, not angry,
Just still. Watching the people who once dismissed me walk through a dream they thought would never belong to me, and realizing, in that moment, it never did. 3 days later, my phone rang. It was my mum. Her tone was soft, too soft, the kind she used when she wanted something. "We've been thinking," she said. "This could still work out beautifully for the family.
Maybe we rent it from you for now.
Then when things get better, we could talk about buying it." She used the word legacy twice, said it would mean the world to her, that it was meant to be our family's forever home. My dad got on the line next. He spoke like nothing had happened, told me we could draw up a simple agreement, keep it in the family. "It's better than selling it to strangers," he said. "You know that?" Even Katie sent a text later that night. "Don't be petty. You wouldn't even be where you are if not for us raising you." I didn't reply to her, but I did pick up the phone again that evening, just once. I said, "You let her destroy my future. You watched it happen, and when I was drowning, you handed me a towel soaked in guilt." Silence. "I rebuild everything, without a single ounce of help from you."
"This isn't your legacy," I could hear my mom start to cry. I didn't flinch, then I finished. "I'm not the backup plan anymore." And I hung up. No more pleading.
No more proving, just a quiet click on the line. And for the first time, they heard what it sounded like when they truly lost me. The guilt trips came fast and loud. Long emails from my mum flooded my inbox. Paragraphs drenched in phrases like, "Blood is thicker than water," and "Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself." She talked about memories from my childhood like they were enough to erase everything that came after.
Never once did she write the words, "I'm sorry." My dad left a voicemail that still echoes in my head.
"You'll regret this when we're gone." As if their absence would hurt more than the pain they caused while they were here. Katie didn't bother pretending. She texted me straight up, "If you're going to be this selfish, at least lend me something until I get back on my feet." I blocked her mid-sentence. I wasn't angry anymore.
I was done. One evening,
I was watering the small flower bed near the front steps. Something about nurturing it felt symbolic, when I saw the familiar beat-up sedan crawl slowly down my street. My parents' car. They didn't park, just idled in front of my house for a moment. I slipped behind the curtain and watched. They didn't get out, didn't knock, just stared, like they were looking at something sacred and foreign at the same time. Their dream, my reality. My mom pressed her hand to the window. My dad stared straight ahead, blank. Then they drove off. And I stood there, not with tears,
not with rage, but with something I hadn't felt since I was a kid, lying awake in that chaotic house. A kind of quiet peace, because they were finally on the outside looking in.
And for once,
I was the one who felt safe. The renovations weren't flashy.
No granite countertops or open-concept overhauls, just me, slowly turning this house into a life I actually wanted to live. I turned the smallest bedroom into a reading nook, something my mum used to call a waste of space when I asked for one growing up. Filled it with second-hand shelves and thrifted armchairs until it felt like a hug. I built a home office with a real desk, real lighting, and a whiteboard where I scribbled down goals, ones they would have laughed at. Outside, I planted a small garden. Tomatoes, herbs, a single stubborn sunflower.
No one trampled over it.
No one said it was too much work. Just me and the dirt and the quiet. In the hallway, I hung one thing on the wall, my credit report. The one with the clean score, framed, not to gloat, to remember. Every night I passed it, it whispered, "You survived what they tried to bury you under." I started therapy. Real therapy. No more pretending I was fine. I unpacked years of guilt and gaslighting and shame. And somewhere in that process, I stopped defining myself by the people who broke me. I met someone too.
Kind, grounded, patient.
They didn't flinch when I told them about my past, just squeezed my hand and said, "That's not who you are."
That's what you endured. And for the first time, I believed it. I didn't need their apologies anymore.
I didn't need them to acknowledge the pain because I had something they never gave me, permission to be proud of myself. And in this house, in this quiet, I finally knew. I didn't just rebuild my credit. I rebuilt me. The house became mine in more than just name. I started small, painted the walls in colors I liked, not the beige my mom swore by. I turned the upstairs guest room into a home office, complete with a real desk, dual monitors, and a corner shelf filled with notebooks and coffee mugs that made me feel settled. It was the kind of space they used to say I didn't need because I wasn't serious enough. Next came the reading nook, a cozy sunlit spot by the bay window. I filled it with books, old, new, second-hand titles I used to check out from the library just to feel like I owned something. I bought a worn leather armchair from a garage sale and threw a knit blanket over the side. It became my refuge. Outside I planted a tiny garden, just a patch, tomatoes, basil, wildflowers. I used to ask for one as a kid, but my mom always said it was too much mess. Now, it bloomed because of me. In the hallway, I framed something most people would find odd, my credit report, the updated one. 731, no fraud, no defaults. Just clean, hard-earned survival. It wasn't for revenge. It wasn't even for pride. It was for proof that I existed beyond their damage. I started therapy. Finally, I stopped apologizing for taking up space.
I found someone who saw me.
Who didn't need explanations or disclaimers about my past. Who looked at me and said, "You're enough." Just like this. And I believed them.
I didn't chase their approval anymore.
I didn't scroll through their old photos or reread their guilt-laced messages. I'd outgrown that need. Because I had something better now. A life that was finally completely mine. 2 years passed, no calls, no texts, no drive-bys. Just silence, thick, uninterrupted, and strangely kind.
I thought maybe they'd finally moved on, or maybe they'd written me off the way they always threatened to.
Either way, I didn't chase the answer. I didn't need to. Then one morning, I found something in the mailbox, no return address, no handwriting I recognized. Just a plain white envelope with my name printed in small, careful letters. Inside was a photo, old, faded. It was us, my family, standing in front of this house.
Me at maybe 10 years old, standing off to the side like I didn't quite belong. My mom and dad smiling proudly.
Katie flashing a peace sign in the middle, like always. On the back, in shaky pen, "We should have treated you better." No name, no explanation, just that. I stood there on the porch for a long time, holding the photo in both hands.
I didn't cry.
I didn't feel anger, just a slow, unfamiliar ache in my chest. Like touching a bruise you forgot you had. I thought about burning it, tossing it.
Mailing it back torn in half instead.
I slid it into the drawer in my hallway desk, next to my framed credit report. I didn't know if it was an apology, and I didn't know if I forgave them. But that night, I sat out on my porch, sipping black coffee and watching the sky fade into that deep blue stillness I used to dream about when I was a kid, lying awake in that suffocating house. I wasn't waiting for them anymore. Wasn't wishing for words they'd never say, because this peace, this freedom, it was more than they ever gave me, and now it was mine.